healing. We can no longer hold our own at all in this great battleground between the retrograde upper beings of Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, and the lower retrograde beings of the Moon, Venus, and Mercury. If you cross the threshold, you will actually find yourself in the midst of this dire conflict between upper and lower powers, opposing each other like two warring camps, the air and fire beings as lapsed Moon, Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars beings, and earth and water beings who are lapsed Moon, Venus, and Mercury beings. And the conflict rages beyond the threshold in dire fashion, so that the sun first flames with fire, and then is darkened and obscured, and at last appears as a terrible black disk. This was not so for the ancient initiates, for they saw through this black disk, and from it came the divine messengers of God the Father to them, for instance, bearing a knowledge of healing in ancient times. In modern times we cross the threshold and find this terrible battle raging. The sun grows red, grows black, but remains a black disk, and we are repulsed, and to find our way, to survive in this confusing battle, have to search upon the earth itself. And here we are guided to the Christ, who stands there as a spiritual being who bound himself to the earth through the mystery of Golgotha, and says to us, quote, "Do not despair that the sun has grown black. It is black now because I, the Sun God, no longer dwell in it, but have descended and bound myself to the earth." Close quote. If we then approach Christ with the greatest inner humility and devotion, and with clear insight into what comes to us through knowledge of the mystery of Golgotha, while the sun does not brighten again, it remains a black disk. It begins to make audible everything Christ speaks to us, and then we learn of Christ's affinity with the sun. Though it remains a black disk, the sun becomes the being who enables us to hearken to Christ, if we have first developed in ourselves the right inner relationship to him. And then it is the Christ who tells humankind of the means to reconcile the upper with the lower powers, how one can reconcile the powers above the black sun disk, who manifest around our earth as beings of air and fire, with the lower beings. And as human beings specifically, we acquire guidance, precepts, both for healing illnesses and for understanding all the other evils that continually disappoint Lucifer and Ahriman. Through the power of Christ and the power of the mystery of Golgotha, we come to the point of being able to say this wondrous thing, quote, "You, creatures of Ahriman and Lucifer, you are disappointed by the evils that must arise on earth through you, as you achieve your only partial victories. But these disappointments will keep recurring, since you will continually engender sick or possessed people, and the liars, egotists, and egoless. And thus you will continually swing back and forth between euphoria and disappointment." Close quote. But when the earthly human being finds the right relationship to Christ, he will not despair at the moment he witnesses the despair of beings higher than he is, who follow a different path from the divine beings to whom the human being belongs, and with whom he should keep faith as earth goes on evolving. At the core of these divine beings is the Christ being, who once spoke through the sun's disk to the ancient initiates, and who now continues to speak to us from the earth with the sun's aid. And so in speaking of Christ today, we are speaking of the one who can stand beside us on earth, as the guide who leads us away from the dire conflict that Ahrimanic and Luciferic powers wage, both with one another and against the upper and lower worlds of the gods.
My name is Helen Damon Moore, and I am the Director of Service and Education at the Tucker Foundation here at Dartmouth College. I am honored to welcome you all and to introduce Jon Kabat-Zinn on behalf of the Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center Palliative Care Service, the Tucker Foundation, the Rubin Committee of Dartmouth College, Alice Peck Day Hospital, Dartmouth Medical School, the Norris Cotton Cancer Center, and the Valley Insight Meditation Society. Special thanks to Ira Byock and Yvonne Corbet and the Palliative Care Service for partnering on this project, and to those at Tucker who have worked so hard and who are this week celebrating the 60th anniversary year of the Tucker Foundation, Dartmouth Center for Service, Spirituality, and Social Justice. We are pleased to welcome Dr. Jon Kabat-Zinn to Dartmouth College today for the second time. Kabat-Zinn first visited Dartmouth in the summer of 1984, when the college and the Connecticut River served as the training camp for the men's Olympic rowing team. He was the meditation trainer for the team, helping them to optimize their mental performance. Today, he is here to help optimize our performance. Jon Kabat-Zinn holds a PhD in molecular biology from MIT. He is professor of medicine emeritus at the University of Massachusetts Medical School and founder of the Center for Mindfulness in Medicine, Healthcare, and Society, and its mindfulness-based stress reduction clinic. He is the author of numerous best-selling books, including Full Catastrophe Living, Wherever You Go, There You Are, Coming to Our Senses, and The Mindful Way Through Depression, co-authored with Williams, Teasdale, and Siegel. Dr. Kabat-Zinn's research focuses on mind-body interactions for healing and on the clinical applications and cost-effectiveness of mindfulness